Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to weave such a protruding handle on a lead for an etui in a root weaving technique. It can be either long or round. I'll show you on the example of a round handle and tell you a little how to make handles for an oval or rectangular etui. So, we're going to weave a lead with a round handle for this square etui. Well, I could have made a large protruding square handle, but I wouldn't like to. That's why the handle will be round. I don't want the handle to be too big. You already know the beginning, but because I'm starting to weave, I'd like to show you the entire process. So, drop some glue and make 6 coils. I've rolled the tube around this felt tip pen and I already know that 6 stitches are enough to fill this gap entirely. I've calculated experimentally how to make an etui with almost no gap in the center. So, 6 coils, lengthen the tube, and make stitches in the first row the way I usually do. This way. I make a stitch through every loop. In the next row I'm going to increase the number of coils. Lengthen the tube of the base and continue. Lead the tube beneath the coil. Now lengthen the working tube. Push it carefully to hide the joint. Now in the next row I make 1 stitch under the previous row and the next stitch under the stitch. This way I double the number of loops in this row. My tubes are extremely flexible this time. I was running out of hair balsam, so I've poured my mixture of varnish and water into the can with the remainders of balsam, which has made the tubes very elastic. On the one hand, it is good because they don't crack, but on the other hand they lose rigidness in the process of weaving. Anyway, they are very nice to work with. Don't tighten the loops too tight to make the next row easy to weave. Continue this way until the end of the row. One loop under the loop of the base of the previous row, the next one under the coil. Here and here until the end of the row. The row has been woven completely. In the next row, in order to avoid a too large handle, I'm passing on sharply to weaving over the sides. The transition has to be sharp, not smooth. Here is the top. Now I'm leading the tube of the base right over the previous tube of the base. And weave a few rows without increasing the number of coils. Make sure you place the tube of the base strictly above the previous row. You can experiment with the shape of a handle. For example, you can make a base wide and then narrow it a little. But it's better to try and make a handle of a traditional shape at first, after which you can start experimenting. Make sure that the current row goes right above the previous one. Here in the first row you can narrow or smoothen the shape. So far it can be improved and corrected. Finish the current row and weave a couple of rows more. You can already see the turn. So weave 4 or 5 rows, I've woven 5, after which start widening. Again, I change the way I place the tube of the base. In the previous rows, I placed it strictly above the previous tube of the base. Now I place it near the previous row, and again I perform the transition sharply. One more essential point. The number of coils must be divisible by 4 in case of a square etui. If your etui is round, it doesn't matter. So I weave one row, placing the tube near the previous one. In the next row I'm going to start forming the corners. So far I'm weaving like this. Try to fit the tube, check, smoothen. Take your time in these points of transition to make everything smooth. This way. I've got 12 loops and I don't increase the number so far. I'm going to start increasing it later after I distribute the corners. Continue this way. Finish the first row after the turn. In the second row after the turn, I start forming the corners. This way. Let's lengthen the tube. One, two, one more corner, one, 2. Let's lengthen the tube here to avoid a joint in the corner. I've been asked such an interesting question. Why I drop glue not from spout, but from here? The matter is my bottle has cracked. I was going to change it before I've thought of such a method of gluing from the crack. I'm still using the universal polymeric adhesive Dragon. So 4 here and 3 here. Once I turn toward this side and into the same loop. Once here, the 4 loops are left here, form the corner, and now weave in this direction. My task is making 4 corners and identical numbers of loops between them. So 1, 2, 3. The big interval. One more here, the 4th one. I'll still have to make 4 loops here. Or maybe I'll start with 5 loops here and will continue making 5 from every side. I'll decide in the process. At the same time, I'll continue forming the right angles. Here I can pull the tube a little and smoothen, lengthen and continue. I've managed to make 4 loops from each side. Now I'm making 4 loops again and the row is over. Continue forming the corners in every row. Weave like a square bottom. In every row I add a loop in every corner. By adding one loop in every corner, I increase the size of the lead. I'm going to weave this lead with an external board. The option of an internal board is also possible, but we'll discuss it later. Reach the corner, shape it, one loop here, the second one in this direction. This way. Further you continue smooth sailing. I like weaving rectangular and square bottoms and leads because I don't have to follow the regularity or accuracy of coil lengthening. I just repeat the same action in every corner. As a result, the weaving is quite neat if the tubes are well prepared. So straighten the corner. 1, turn, and to this side. As a result, I'm going to get a square cloth with such a projection on the top. This will be a lead. A tiny thing like this will turn into such a large cloth. Continue. The lead is at such an intermediate stage now. I'm weaving and trying it on the tree. I have to weave a couple more rows, after which I can start bending it. 2 rows will probably be enough, and the bending downward. Let's continue. The size of the lead is sufficient. The only thing left is to weave 3 or 4 rows downwards. I perform the turn in the same very way. I turn the lead over and place the tube of the base right above the previous tube of the base. And weave, well, commonly 4 rows more this way. Continue this way. Continue. The first turning row and 3 more rows in the same direction. This is how I'll get such a square lead with a protruding round handle. If you need an oval handle, you can watch a masterclass on how to start weaving an oval or rectangular bottom. And in the same way, based on the same principle as with the round handle, weave a lead with a handle for an oval or rectangular tree. Here is the same. Start with an oval, mark the corners, and weave a lead of required size.